I think mass tourism is dead for a while, and I think it's for the better. There are always a series of things that happen after a crisis. You can say that it's after a big crisis that the renaissance happens. So the question is, how is the renaissance going to happen? So mass tourism is definitely one of the I would say the dead men of that renaissance, at least for practical reasons. I wish that it will become dead for good, for philosophical and sociological reasons, also for environmental reasons, but at least for the moment, simply because we have less flights, less airlift from one country to the other, and also because the COVID is associated to mass, precisely. The more people there are entering in contact with each other, the more likely the virus is to spread. So governments will ban that, and you can see that for the foreseeable future, the mass tourism as we used to know it is not going to happen. I think it's a good thing. I don't mean to be an elitist by saying that, but I think that we had gone too far until 2019. 2019, by the way, was one of the best years, I think, in some countries of the world. In Europe in particular, it was the best year ever. After, if I remember, 2015, which was also an amazing year, 2019's level of tourism will not be re-attained before long, because of the fact that mass tourism always represent a large fraction of the figures that we read about tourism and visitation. So what we want now, I think, and this is what we would like to promote on this platform, is to get experiential tourism up, and consumption tourism, which is associated with mass tourism, down.
But because we have all seen how COVID-19 has impacted economies, and don't you think that mass tourism would be an easy way for countries to actually rejuvenate their economy through mass tourism?
You're right. I mean, it's a low hanging fruit, and it's true that if you see the consumption of oil, for example, it's the easy way to go. It's available, it's relatively cheap, and it's efficient. So why not use it? But we know in mass tourism, but also in energy consumption around the world, that those are not sustainable in the short term. We're already at a limit in both cases. So people have seen more images of those, like the Maya Bay beach or Koh Phi Phi beach in Thailand, infested or invaded, choose the verb that you prefer, by dozens of boats and 1,000 people on the beach, and you think about the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and you're like, what the hell? It shouldn't be like that. That's not the way I was imagining it. So those striking images have been now shared all around the world during the year 2020. I think there's been a lot of reflection about mass tourism. A lot of impactful pictures have been shown around, and people have actually understood the reality of mass tourism. From the part of a government, of a country, obviously it's tempting to try and restart mass tourism, because like I said, it's numbers, and it fills hotels and it gives jobs to people. But really, I'm not sure that it actually does that well for the economy. I think to a certain degree it does, but overall it does not, because it also, if you think about the ratio between what mass tourism brings to a country and what it retrenches, it takes away from that country, I would like that mass tourism is analyzed now under more lights than just the bottom line of a spreadsheet, because it's actually the way it should be. It should be analyzed more broadly and then governments may actually change their mind and try to actually change what mass tourism is, because there could still be a lot of people going to some attractive places, and that should be the way. Everybody should be having the occasion to go to Koh Phi Phi or to Santorini, or to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, or to the Great Wall of China. However, it's the way it's done, and I think it's a good idea to rethink mass tourism under this angle. What does it bring, but also what does it take away from the community, from the environment, and also from the soft power and the image of any given destination.
In other words, mass tourism is definitely not sustainable, right?
It's not. It can't be sustainable. It's not. I mean, we know that now. Governments have. I mean, think about. I'm taking the example of Koh Phi Phi again, or Maya Bay. I'm not quite sure anymore actually which is which, but those beautiful islands with the.
The private islands that you see in movies.
Yeah, you see in The Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah,
and,
the sand is so
like
pretty, the sea is serene, and things like that.
So you know what they did? They actually had to close it down. I mean, what a paradox, right? All of a sudden, from thousands of people, there were none. Why? Because the government had found out that the environment had been so damaged, the corals, the ecosystem had been so damaged that there was no other way for them than to close it entirely. And the same was done in the Philippines, you remember? In Boracay. Yeah, exactly. And so do we want that? Is it clever to do such a thing? Because at the end of the day, mass tourism did bring some activity, but then all of a sudden there was nothing. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer to have a steady and sustainable activity which brings better jobs and more significance to the jobs that people in the tourism industry execute every day? Or do you want the hit and run kind of mentality to be promoted, so that you take everything that you can and then God knows what happens later? That's why I was making a difference between the consumption of tourism and the experience of tourism. I think mass tourism is also associated with consumption and with exhaustion and eradication of resources, but also of the morale of people. You've been to places where there are too many tourists, and you were one of these too many tourists. And you see how the local people feel. They feel aggravated. They feel overwhelmed. And how can they not feel so? Imagine the people in Venice, who normally are 200,000 on a normal basis, and all of a sudden there are 3 million people visiting Venice. How can it be sustainable? It can't be, So I think this is the way we should really go in the future, and this platform is there to promote that, and to promote people who want to promote experiential tourism and who want to boo mass tourism.